I've already got 5 different oddly specific interior design yums videos, and I only have 1 oddly specific interior design yucks video. So I figured it was kind of time to balance it out and do a part 2 of my oddly specific interior design yucks. The phrase "don't yuck my yum" originated in the kink community, and while we are not going to be using it in that context today, I am going to talk about some interior design things that really are big yucks for me. If you haven't seen the other oddly specific design yums and yucks videos, I'll make sure to link those below. I don't know how I forgot to introduce myself, but my name is Medora 𝘠𝘜𝘊𝘒𝘚, and I make videos about actually realistic home design for the average person. And let's get into it. The first one is the color aqua. Now, normally I am not someone to hate on a specific color, but I just never see this color incorporated into a space in a way that actually looks good. I feel like I usually see this color along with purple and green, and it's a very peacock vibe, especially like within the context of weddings. I don't know what that color combination is, but it's not doing anyone any favors. I'll just say that. This one very specifically was inspired by a conversation over on Patreon with one of my clients. So this is a great time to mention that I have a Patreon and I also work with clients. On Patreon, we do monthly community calls where we help each other brainstorm for the problem areas of our homes. And for client work, I am doing virtual design consultations. So head over to medora_𝘠𝘜𝘓.com if you want to learn more about that. Number 2 is thinking that patterns only go in maximalist spaces, and also that they need to be big and bold and in your face. There are so many good patterns that are tiny and subtle and neutral or desaturated or monochrome. And a lot of them do tend to lean a little bit more traditional, but that can honestly be a really beautiful contrast. For example, to include what we might think of as a traditional sink skirt in a more modernist kitchen. My third design yuck is thinking that you can't paint small spaces dark colors, when in reality, dark colors, and especially muted versions of dark colors, tend to fade into the background and feel farther away. Lighter colors actually reflect more light, which can help a space feel bright and airy. But light colors also tend to show the boundaries of walls and corners and ceilings, and how big the room actually is. Part of me really likes how honest white walls are, but part of me also likes the mystery and intrigue and deception of dark colors. It's kind of like if you've ever been backstage on any stage, usually everything is painted matte black, because if the curtain happens to get like drawn up a little bit or the audience sees back there, they're not actually going to see anything. And when you walk into that kind of space where the ceiling is black, the walls are black, the back of the curtains are black, like everything backstage is black, it feels deceptively large. Now, granted, these are usually large spaces, but it kind of just depends on what light you're working with, how big your room is, what vibe you're going for, stuff like that. Number 4 is being afraid of blank space on walls, and in general, just having a cluttered home. You really need to be able to have breathing room to appreciate the beautiful things you do already have. My favorite word that I really need to go more in depth on, although not right now, is curate. Curate, curate, curate. It's like that one quote that I think might be Coco Chanel. I don't remember. Some fashion person at one point said, once you think you have an outfit put together, take away something. And I really love this idea of taking away and paring down before trying to add in new things. Because as much as all of the home design companies would love us to get caught up in the propaganda of needing to buy a bunch of new pretty things to have a pretty home, that's not actually realistic. And what we really need to do instead is declutter, organize, and curate things within a cohesive color palette and just style things intentionally. If you don't want to get rid of things, maybe put some things into a box in the bottom of your closet, and that way when you get bored of what you currently have up, you can swap things out without spending any money. Novel idea. Now, each individual person definitely does have their own balance or threshold of what is too much stuff versus what is not enough. So you really need to do some soul searching and find your own center of gravity around that. But to some extent, everyone needs some stuff and some blank space. It's just a matter of what feels right to you. Number 5 is thinking that you will ever be done. Designing your home is an ongoing, ever-evolving practice that changes with you as you grow and learn more about yourself and the world around you. There is no such thing as being finished. There's finished enough that I feel comfortable showing it off to people, but there's no such thing as finished. Not to get like too existentialist, but nothing is permanent and everything will be gone one day. So just enjoy the process while you're here in the moment. I definitely blame this one on those design shows and design YouTube channels that do big makeovers with before and after shots, and I am going to sound like a hypocrite because I am coming out actually with a full apartment makeover for my best friend soon, but spoiler, we didn't actually finish everything in that video, and the before and afters are just me getting to a place where I felt like it was presentable enough to have a noticeable impact on camera. There are still things that we need to do, still things that we need to finish up, and your home is always a work in progress. My sixth oddly specific interior design yuck is sticking to one single narrow design aesthetic, because everything that already exists has countless influences behind it, so this just feels like artificially one-dimensional when nothing is like that in real life. At least to me, it almost feels like a caricature or a cartoon of reality instead of reality itself. And then also think about what other design styles have similar elements that you can kind of incorporate. So farmhouse and beach, what the fuck is it called? Beach lake house? Beach interior design. Coastal. Don't know why I blanked on that word so hard, but coastal. There are so many similar elements, and there's honestly even a lot of similar elements within industrial design too, right? Especially when I'm thinking about dining tables, all of those have like big, chunky, heavy wooden tables. So that's a fun way where you could maybe get a dining table that has some more industrial elements to it, but it'll still fit within the overall vibe. Number 7 is quite personal to me, and that is forgetting what stage of life you're in. Are you in a temporary, moving every single year or two, very, very broke kind of stage of life where you just can't invest in lifelong pieces? Or have you already bought your dream home and you're looking to settle down? Maybe you're somewhere in between, which will require mostly temporary solutions as you slowly replace them as you get the funds. Basically, don't buy an 8-foot long stone patio table that is literally impossible to move when you're renting and you don't have your own personal outdoor space and you've moved in with 2 people who within 6 weeks of moving in both became exes. And also, as a little tangent, always have an emergency fund. Like, no matter what it takes, always have an emergency fund, because you don't want yourself getting in some sort of living situation that you can't get out of. Number 8 is whatever the fuck this is. Partially just because it looks like everything was manufactured within the last year, and also like the space was designed by AI, but mostly because the art is so obviously not personal at all. And you're really just wasting money and resources trying to fill up a space when you could just wait a little bit longer, save up, and put like the tiniest bit of effort into finding art that you actually like. You don't have to have thousands and thousands of dollars to buy good art. Although if you do, support your local artists. But even if you only have enough money for shitty mass-manufactured art, at least look at some of these pieces, because these are so much better and so much more interesting. And at least they tell me, like, a little something about you, which is just that at least you're not literally the most boring person on the planet. Number 9 is art that is too small for a space, and or just not considering the sizing of the art in relation to the sizing of the space that it's going in. For a lot of us, I feel like it's pretty safe to assume that massive original oil paintings by local artists are kind of the dream, but that is very much an investment, and you don't have to spend that much on large art. If you're on a super tight budget, what I would recommend are engineering prints or blueprints. You should be able to go to pretty much any printer, whether that's like Staples or some like big box store like that, or your local printer, which I would highly recommend because a lot of them are not getting new business, and see if you can print something on an engineering print. Now, this is most likely only going to be in black and white, and it's not going to be the best quality, so I would not recommend this for photographs. I would recommend this much more for any sort of like graphic type of prints, or if you do want to do photographs, anything that won't be viewed too close up. So if you want a photograph that, say for example, would be behind my dresser right here on the wall, you're not going to get like super close to that and like look at it right up close. So it's not going to be that big of a deal. And just as an example for pricing, blueprints at Staples start at $2.25 per page, so per giant sheet of paper, and they can go up to 3 feet by 4 feet. So let me click learn more. I'm curious. Okay, so the available sizes, 18 by 24 is $2.24, and that goes all the way up to 3 feet by 4 feet, which is $9. It's not $2, but hey, $9 for a 3 by 4 piece of artwork, not bad. Now, you do have to figure out how to frame it or mount it or something like that, but a big frame from a thrift store, or just honestly a couple of 1x2s that you miter the corners of, glue together, and then command strip it onto the wall, and then just like tape the engineering print onto the wall. That'll get the job done. Another option, if you want it to look more like a canvas, is you can go get some like 2-inch pink foam insulation from any home improvement store and just glue it on there, cut it to the right size, and paint the edges so that it, you know, actually looks kind of nice. I actually did this for one of my art projects once, and I'll see if I can find a photo that I can put here. But I did this exact thing with photos and an engineering print, and it was fine. If you looked really close, it obviously wasn't great quality, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. My 10th oddly specific design yuck is any sort of peel and stick that is just for the dopamine hit. Now, if you've weighed all your options and peel and stick is like the one thing you can do to like genuinely improve, say for example, a kitchen, it's acceptable. It can look okay depending on which peel and stick tile you get, but it's kind of expensive and essentially it's just plastic that is bad for the environment. So just be intentional about it and try to work with what you have first. Again, this is another one that I feel kind of like a hypocrite because I am using peel and stick for a backsplash in my best friend's apartment makeover that's coming up soon, but there really wasn't much we could do for the kitchen. And the peel and stick I found really tied everything together in a really nice way, and it looks pretty sexy, not gonna lie. So try to avoid it if you can, but like also if you can't, that doesn't mean you're a bad person. Part of the decision too is that my best friend is going to be living here for quite a while, like for the foreseeable future. They're not going to be moving in anytime soon. So it'll essentially be more worth it the longer they live there, if that makes sense. Number 11, I was actually just talking about this with my girlfriend the other day. But another design yuck is when the only adjectives people can use to think of to describe a space or to describe a specific element are masculine or feminine. There are so many other ways to describe things. And while I think there is some validity to certain combinations of colors and textures and materials and silhouettes feeling more feminine or more masculine. For example, I don't think I'll be calling a frilly lace pastel room with like baby animals masculine anytime soon. Try calling things for what they actually are instead of adding a bunch of extra like cultural baggage on top. So maybe something feels dainty or playful or strong or grounded or balanced. Maybe it's vibrant, muted, chaotic, calming, commanding, earthy, sleek, rough, heavy, bold. There are so many different ways of describing things, and using the words masculine or feminine just it feels lazy to me. And I get that, especially in America, we have been so constantly bombarded with ideals around gender from the time we were born. But like, maybe we can just set that aside for now. It can always be there if we want to come back to it. But I think just trying to be a little bit more like objective and neutral about the ways that we're describing things can be really helpful. Similarly, number 12 is only categorizing things into modern versus traditional. And of course there's transitional, but these descriptors tell us nothing. Modern can look like this, but it also can look like this, and traditional, again, because it could look like this, it could look like this. When a lot of people say modern, they aren't necessarily talking about the modernist art and design movement during the 1900s. They just mean anything that doesn't look stuffy and old-fashioned. But things that feel stuffy and old-fashioned to us today felt new and modern at one point in time. Sometimes contemporary is a better word to use here, because it essentially just means of the current era. And then when it comes to traditional, again, which traditions are we talking about? Because certainly traditional English design is not the same as traditional Japanese design, is not the same as traditional Scandinavian design, is not the same as traditional Moroccan design. You get the idea. The current way of thinking about this in the interior design industry right now is that you've got traditional and modern on two different ends of the spectrum and transitional in the middle, which is literally just a combination of the two. And if I'm being completely honest here, that feels like the worst possible way to try to describe your design style. And also, if I'm being extra honest, within the context of our current world, I think good design has to be transitional to some extent. Maybe not everyone will agree with me, but I think good design inherently takes into consideration all the options that are available for a specific person, including options that might not seem obvious at first glance, which, for lack of a better phrase, includes objects that are both more modern or contemporary, and also objects that are more traditional. This is essentially the same point I was trying to make with the don't use only one aesthetic point, but like, to me, it feels like bad design to have only modern things or only traditional things in your space, just for the sake of adhering to a specific design style. Another major yuck for me is people who think that interior design is only about frivolous decorating, when in fact, it can be a deeply profound way of getting to know yourself, reclaiming your space and your agency, and giving your inner child what your parents weren't able or willing to give you. It's not just about the pretty things, although the pretty things certainly don't hurt, but it's about co-creating a space that will genuinely nourish your soul and shape how you live your daily life. I don't think I've ever come across another design channel that doesn't automatically assume that everyone watching wants a couch and a mattress on a bed frame and a big dining table. Like, there are so many different ways that you can live in your space, and these pieces of furniture are often big and heavy to move, and at least to some extent, they're part of a colonized mindset around time and leisure and work and community and accessibility, and even the very concept of home. Our relation to furniture and decor is so much more than it appears on the surface. So I would just like to invite you to consider that. Number 14 is, instead of trying to figure out your style from a place of what looks cool and what other people are doing, try coming from a place of wanting to love and understand yourself. This will take time, and part of being on that journey with yourself is letting yourself be exactly where you are at the moment, rather than forcing it and buying the fancy expensive couch that you're like, not actually ready to maintain yet. But also, on the flip side, realizing when you genuinely are ready for a bigger commitment, whether that's in terms of money or upkeep or whatever. Number 15 is very semantic and nitpicky, but I really hate the phrase statement piece, because people tend to think that anything with bright colors or high contrast or a funky shape or anything that's like otherwise a little unexpected is automatically a statement piece, when in reality, it's all about the context. I'd much rather focus on what the focal point of a room is, because every room needs a focal point, even if it's very simple. But in a room full of statement pieces, there is no focal point. Your eye isn't going to know where to look if you're just overwhelmed. Number 16 is green lampshades. They can look beautiful when the lamp is off, but as soon as you turn it on, everyone just looks like they're in the Twilight movies. Like, you just look sick, and not in the good way. Both Kelsey from the Sorry Girls and also Caroline Winkler have done this. And now granted, beautiful lampshades, beautiful light fixtures, but if you're gonna do this lampshade, it cannot be a light that you turn on, ever. If aesthetically a green lampshade fits into your design plan, it needs to be like a metal opaque lampshade, kind of like this patinaed metal lampshade that my parents have. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to tell the algorithm to show you more of my videos. And if you live on the West Coast or anywhere on the western half of the United States, and you want to win a real-life in-person makeover with me while I'm going on tour this summer, check out the link below. And if you want to support me in my mission to bring interior design to people who couldn't otherwise afford to hire a designer, head over to patreon.com/medora_𝘠𝘜. Last but not least, if you want me to virtually design your home, head over to medora_𝘠𝘜.com. Bye. I want to say hi to the people.